happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is two new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've probably seen politicians interviewed 1,000 times, but we do it differently. We find out who they really are, we don't shout, we chat, and hopefully we bring a bit of light, not just heat.
Did you know Kate Moss?
Apparently.
Do you have a pair of jeans or a pair of jeans?
No, of course I don't. What would I do with them?
My friends are like, oh my God, what's she doing now?
Join me every Sunday at 6 for Gloria Meets, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You're with GB News. Good evening. The latest news headlines. Prince Harry has accused the former Mirror editor Piers Morgan of intimidation and a barrage of horrific attacks against him and his wife Meghan as a consequence of him bringing his claim to the High Court. The Duke of Sussex gave evidence in London today against the publisher of the Daily Mirror over alleged unlawful information gathering. Harry also said his country was judged globally by the state of the press and the government, accusing the press of having blood on its typing hands during his cross-examination. Mirror Group Newspapers denies all the allegations. And then tonight on GB News, the former butler to Princess Diana, Paul Burrell, said that Prince Harry had defamed him in court, adding, "Stop this, Harry, it's wrong."
He complained in Spare that he was put on Camilla's PR altar and sacrificed. Well, Harry, you're doing the same to me. What you're doing to me is unforgivable. You know the truth. You know what I feel and think. I am not a two-faced SHIT. I'm not that person. Don't say these things in public. I've tried 20 years to get away from what happened to me a long time ago.
Paul Burrell talking to Dan Wootton a short time ago. Now, in other news, the Foreign Secretary says damage to a major dam in Ukraine is a catastrophe and an abhorrent act. Thousands of people have had to leave their homes after the huge 2-mile-long dam in southern Ukraine was severely damaged. Ukraine is accusing Russia of blowing it up, but a member for Putin's United Russia Party is accusing Ukraine of carrying out the attack. Hundreds of homes, streets and businesses have been flooded. England is seeing a record high number of gonorrhea cases, while children as young as 13 have been diagnosed with the sexually transmitted infection. New figures from the UK Health Security Agency show the number of cases of chlamydia and syphilis have also increased, with the number of diagnosed cases of infectious syphilis at the highest level since just after the Second World War. Overall, there were almost 400,000 new STI cases in England last year. That's more than 1,000 every day. Ryanair cancelled 400 flights amid a French air traffic control strike today. Some of the impacted flights are to and from the UK and Ireland. A petition calling for the European Commission to protect flights over France during strikes has so far been signed by over 1.1 million people. On TV, online, DAB+ radio and the TuneIn app. This is GB News. Time now for headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Simon Evans. Joining me tonight for Groundhog Headliners, we have Josh Howie and Leo Kearse, who were both seated in exactly the same place last night. But you've changed your underwear since, right?
Well, I know, I swapped it. I requested it over. I swapped it because I wanted to be closer to you.
Oh, right.
You're not wondering why Josh suddenly got better looking?
I have such a poor memory. You could have both been completely different people.
Wow.
As far as I remember, I was just following the rules.
You know, this could be purgatory. You could be dead.
Yeah.
And this could be...
Everything just swirls around endlessly. Right, you've swapped seats. OK, everything else stays the same. We'll have a quick rundown of the front pages. Let's see if they've changed. The Daily Mail. Yes, that's definitely new. He must have longed for the schmaltzy embrace of Oprah. I would have remembered reading that last night. The Guardian, environmental disaster. Floods hit Ukraine as dam is destroyed. Financial Times, Russia set off environmental bomb by breaching dam, Zelensky claims. The Daily Express have game changer, new drug to slim down nation. There is a slim-looking Prince Harry there. iNews, 40,000 fleeing war crime after dam is blown up. The Star, Inspector Clueless. Not sure who that is. And those were your front pages. So let's have a closer look at the front pages. We'll start with the Daily Mail, Josh, and GB News' main focus today.
Indeed. Prince Harry, he's in the witness box. He must have longed for the schmaltzy embrace of Oprah. Yeah, he would have been challenged, yes. This is the whole idea that essentially the royalty, because they are raised somewhat in a bubble and they think that they're special because they've been told that their whole lives, when they come into contact with actual human beings, sometimes they don't come out He really should have learnt from his uncle. He's just like looked at that and gone, you know what? I don't want an expert in questioning people to question me for hours on end.
King's Counsel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the highest trained barristers. And this is not even necessary, really. He's like re-inflamed a court case that had been settled to all intents and purposes.
He brought this case.
Yeah. This is the hacking scandal that happened years ago, and we kind of know what happened. It's all been dragged out into the open, effectively, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but the reason he says he's doing it is, this is probably my favourite of his many, many quotes, is he's doing it because he wants to save journalism as a profession, which is very honourable of him.
Yeah. He also said he's exposing media criminality for moral reasons and as a soldier upholding important values. I mean, all right, calm down.
That's why I'm on the show. For this ditto. Snap.
We know what he did as a soldier the first time around, of course.
Yeah,
he kind of got a bit of a buzz out of it. Maybe he hopes he can mow down a number of barristers with an automatic weapon.
He killed 25 Afghan men, and then somehow, just because he puts some flags in his bio or whatever, he can be some sort of moral arbiter. It's like, dude, you just ruined some families in Afghanistan.
So just to drill briefly into the detail, I haven't actually seen a proper transcript. Have you? I mean, I think it is probably fair to assume that the Casey had him tied up in knots, but I haven't actually seen the line by line.
Well, apparently the testimony he gave didn't match what was written in his autobiography, which I took his autobiography as an absolute totem of truth.
Spare.
I don't think he didn't write his autobiography. The question is whether he wrote his testimony. The real question is, can he write?
Yeah.
That's what we were...
Presumably the bit about him rubbing oil of oolay or whatever it was into his todger while he's thinking of his mum. That doesn't come up in court.
That was page 4 of the testimony that they got to.
Let's move on to the other big story of the day in The Guardian, Leo.
Yeah, so a slightly more serious story. It leads with environmental disaster. Floods hit Ukraine as dam is destroyed, probably by Russia, possibly. We're not sure.
Yeah.
So it's, there's vast areas of Ukraine being flooded. Leading to lots of animals dying, probably some people as well, no doubt, and 300 zoo animals, which is sad. I don't know why that makes people
zoo
feel
animals
sadder.
It feels sadder, doesn't it? Well, we do recognise rarity, don't we?
Although the giraffes will be all right.
They're harder to replace.
I said the giraffes will be all right. Thank you, Thank you.
Giraffes will be all right.
Thank you. Okay.
And water buffalo, presumably.
But this is, outright this is being blamed on Russia. And to be honest, the benefits to Russia aren't really there. The benefits to Russia is going to be harder for Ukraine to cross at the dam, which is gone now, and also further south. But, you know, Ukraine probably wasn't going to do that. It floods the Ukrainian troops that are already on that spit of land, and it denies the hydroelectric power plant the ability to create electricity for 3 million homes. So that's pretty serious. But the benefits to Ukraine is that it floods Russian defences, which, you know, Russia's invested all that time building these defences. It's going to be easier to cross upstream. Not that Ukraine's got much capacity for sort of aquatic crossings, but I mean, it will be easier if they want to. And also, the big thing is it cuts off fresh water to Crimea. So, you know, in 2014, Russia took Crimea, took it as their own land, told the people, OK, you're part of us now. And now Russia has apparently, you know, just rendered that land barren, and you know, even drinking water won't be available.
I mean, I think there's at least 2 points which are worth raising just in questions of doubt. It is certainly established that Ukraine have destroyed their own infrastructure on several occasions previously in this war for tactical gains, which of course you can argue they're entitled to do so, but just in order to create the doubt. And also there is some footage which suggests that it had been starting to give way for some days now. There's stuff like exactly. So it could just simply be a badly made dam that's, I suppose, bombs have been going off.
Zelensky's saying that the only way it could have been destroyed was from within.
Yeah, but it was mined by Russia. So, I mean, maybe when it collapsed, that set the mines off. I don't know. But there were explosions heard, apparently, and, you know, rattled windows.
I think it's very interesting. I think this kind of stuff, you do actually need to sit down and read a few serious correspondents who have some
don't
sort of...
make us do it.
Not before presenting this show. All I'm saying is this show is of virtually no use when it comes to serious news stories. Stick with us for what we have on Schoolgate tittle-tattle later, but this stuff is quite serious. What have we got in the Financial Times?
Yeah, so the big story here is that the Saudis pledged billions for golf merger to end rift with US and European tours. Now, I'm not a golf fan, but I understand that many people feel very passionately about this. And I am somewhat aware that there has been this rift. Basically, Saudi Arabia investing some of its billions of the funds to sort of break out of oil, ultimately, which you'll have to do, going into sports, what other people are called sports washing. And one of the things they've done is start their own golf tour, and they've bought over loads of, not all, but some of the big players, offering them like millions and millions. And all the while, the PGA Tour, which is the traditional tour, lots of the other golfers were staying strong and saying, no, we're not going to take this money and whatnot. And it kind of seems like they really should have, which Donald Trump called out about a year ago and said, take the money now, because ultimately they are going to merge. And people didn't, and I'm sure they're feeling a bit silly now.
Once again, Donald Trump calls it correctly, you know. But of course, this is his territory, isn't it? He's got a golf course of which the PGA withdrew from after the insurrection. Insurrection, using the PGA terminology, but after the party at the Capitol. And
the picnic.
The January 6th all-nighter.
Let's call it what it is, a guided tour.
The guided tour, the horn-headed... the horn-headed insurrection. But also the PGA, I mean, this isn't like necessarily, you can point it at him, but he invested quite a lot of money in a Scottish golf course, which has not seen the Open for a number of years, which I think it was intended. Do you remember that? He opened that one up there. And I mean, that, you know, he's not guaranteed that, but I think Trump is quite heavily invested in this. It's not just him shooting his mouth off. This feels like his main sort of revenue stream.
He talked about it on GBNews.
Oi.
Hey now, we get a little mention in here. For golf players, I understand this is quite monumental.
I mean, I will say this. Oil money seems to be like, you know, the Qatar World Cup was an obvious example, but also like Newcastle is being bought now by Middle Eastern money, which will present the major threat to Man City, which is Middle Eastern oil money, which presented the main threat to Chelsea, which is Russian, you know, gas money. I mean, the whole of sport now just basically seems to be a series of ridiculous masks worn over huge capital. But I'm not sure the PGA are, like, squeaky clean. They're not like some kind of old mom-and-pop shop,
no
are they?
sports body is at all.
No, exactly.
But I will say to any golf people, is if you are, just don't get it in the dunes. You'll be stuck there for a while.
There's jokes about an albatross if you've got one.
But yeah, I mean, I'd rather this oil money went into golf than went into sponsoring Wahhabist ideology and terrorism around the world.
I'm afraid it's not an either-or. They've got a bit left over. Anyway, Daily Star to finish off this round.
So they lead with a surprisingly serious story for the Daily Star, considering there's actual apparent evidence of UFOs, which normally we've got evidence of UFOs in the front cover of the Daily Star when there isn't any evidence. But yeah, police have failed to solve a single burglary in nearly half of areas in England and Wales for the past 3 years. So the revelation prompted fears that such offences have in effect been decriminalised in parts of the country. So analysis by the Liberal Democrats showed that nearly 80% of all burglary cases went unresolved, and only 6% resulted in a suspect being charged.
That's the Liberal Democrats.
So that's previous analysis.
Well, and it's interesting because that's not normally their kind of area of interest.
Well, I think it's attacking the
Yeah, I
government.
know, but I mean, they're quite kind of soft. They're burglars, that's not the big deal, is it? It's the climate.
My front door's open anyway. Come on in, guys.
Exactly. What are we going to steal? I'll tell you who I think is to credit for this is actually China. Because by producing such extraordinarily cheap consumer goods, it's virtually impossible to fence a TV down the pub.
Well, they're saying
and
that.
they're huge
so
now
actually
as well.
burglaries
And
are
they're
down
so big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. You can't have it away on your
burglaries
toes.
have been 34% drop in burglaries since December 2019.
Yeah.
I'm imagining part of that was COVID. I imagine it was hard being a burglar during lockdown.
Yeah. But also they've reclassified a lot of burglaries and outbuildings as criminal damage.
Yes.
That's interesting. I think there are four crimes that added with trespass become burglary.
Yeah.
You know what those are?
No.
Criminal damage is definitely one. Theft is obviously one. I think rape is one, and sexual assault. What's the other one? There's a weird one. The burglary is basically trespass plus.
This is
plus
a former law
existing...
degree, right?
Yeah, I know. 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
It's not bad. 30 years ago you did it, I think.
There was one. I think it was R.V. Collins, and the man scaled a ladder to climbing through a bedroom window, and the question rested on whether or not he had crossed the threshold before he had been thought he was being welcomed in, which obviously rested on which part of his anatomy would have been the first to cross the threshold in that situation.
Sounds like a vampire a little bit.
Anyway, hopefully some of our viewers will. Maybe just tidy up some of the details. That is the pages. All done. Come back in a second for Chinese prisons. We've got Apple Visions and Sue Gray permissions. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
First and foremost, I'm a GB News fan, and I was before I was working here. Just love the fact that we're asking the questions that a lot of establishment media won't ask.
With a bit of a twist, we not only want to inform you, but we want to keep you entertained.
It's worth the drive because you get in and the team's all ready and waiting, they're itching to go, and it's a proper little family.
GB News is the People's Channel.
It's the audience that makes the programme sing.
We're giving our viewers and our listeners a voice. I see the thousands of your letters, tweets, emails, you name it, coming in.
Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it?
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent you.
It's time for something different. It's time for GB News. I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me. So anyway.
Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners on TV, radio and online. This is GB News. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before
and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to Headliners with me, Simon Evans, the overgrown Josh Howie and the trimmed-down Leo Kirst. That's purely a beard reference, obviously, and nothing all body all over. The defendant was charged with burglary. He had climbed a ladder to an open window where a young woman was sleeping naked on her bed. If you want to read the rest of the story, look up R.V. Collins, 1973.
But not right now.
I just want to know that I was going mad. Anyway, so we'll kick off part two with the Daily Mail, Josh, and... news that the Chinese are running police stations in Croydon and Glasgow, which it has to be said is more than we appear to be.
Very good. Yes. Security Minister Tom Tugendhat warns China that operating sinister police stations in the UK is unacceptable, which is very strong of him, taking a stand there.
Curse you, China. You'll pay for this.
Police stations on our sovereign soil. So this, yes, Croydon, Glasgow and Hendon. There's also talk of one being in Belfast. And they're saying that supposedly now China's closed them down.
Yeah.
And they're supposedly there to kind of help Chinese citizens.
Like a consulate.
Yeah, kind of like a thing, because Croydon, there's a lot of stuff going on with Chinese people in Croydon.
Is there? Okay.
No, I don't know. And but actually, the critics are saying they're there really to intimidate people and to house the staff.
So they would call in a Chinese citizen and let him know that they're keeping an eye on him and he shouldn't,
essentially, yes, or her know. And because China, and this, as this has been pointed out, constantly criticising other countries for interfering with its affairs and its citizens. These are British citizens.
Absolutely.
But they don't. The argument is, do the Chinese authorities see them as British citizens as opposed to still being Chinese?
So they are, I suppose it doesn't matter anyway, it's immoral and it's wrong, but are they people who have taken up British citizenship recently? They're not like second or third generation Chinese immigrants. They are.
I'm assuming it's a selection of people, but have some family in China still. Yeah.
It's all kinds of people like that. But quite often, second or third generation Chinese people will be very critical of China because they'll have heard of it from their parents or grandparents who
they
left.
Probably even believe it exists, unlike I used to at that age.
But I've seen videos of there's a Chinese guy walking around round about the West End in London, being followed by these other Chinese people, and he's shouting out to everybody around him saying, "Help! I'm being followed by the Chinese secret police. Somebody help me." Obviously, it's Britain, so nobody helped him.
Nobody helped him, but there's some loud tutting.
Yeah. That's not how you queue. That is,
The thing about to be honest, surveillance is so endemic in China now that they probably don't regard this as particularly. They probably think it's odd that we don't do it, don't they? It's so.
But coming
it's
from
so
other
core.
countries.
Yes, absolutely, it's disgraceful, but it is absolutely their system of government. They would be nothing without it.
Yeah.
There has been a long tradition in the UK. We used to use God. People thought they were being watched by God. You behave yourself. And then, God died away and there was CCTV occasionally at the gas station and so on. But broadly speaking, people are just expected to behave themselves, but they do not accept that in China.
Yeah.
People at 24 hours...
Well, fortunately, no one can see us, so we can say whatever we want.
Willingly surveilled. We are the Brave New World participants. Following on from my snide comments about China, Leo, the Telegraph has more on the UK actually are behaving like the Chinese.
So Oliver Dowden led a secret unit to stamp out lockdown dissent during the pandemic. So he was Culture Secretary at the time. He directed the Counter-Disinformation Unit to start tackling COVID disinformation.
CTU, TCD.
Yeah, they love acronyms. In March 2020. So, we talk about...
Straight away.
We talk about surveillance and we talk about... although we don't have... we probably do have people following around political dissidents. This is certainly the sort of thing... and things that are... like bodies that are set up to deal with misinformation or disinformation.
Yeah.
It's a hair's breadth. It's a week of mission drift before all of a sudden you're silencing facts.
It's a highly recursive system, isn't it, where they themselves start issuing misinformation and disinformation because they themselves are not being properly checked, and they assume a degree of infallibility, a papal level. But also, it's interesting, this happened in March 2020, when, I mean, that lockdown was only just beginning, and already, it wasn't like after 6 months they began to think, not all of our messaging is being met with... It's like they imported the whole system from China, wholesale. They went, we'll lock down, and what else are China doing? You know, it's like everything, you know?
Yeah, no, it's terrifying because what they say is disinformation then turned out to be information. And that's stuff about the need to vaccinate children, totally unnecessary, and actually created more of a danger than it was.
The one I hated was what was the name of that medicine, the one that Joe Rogan took and a few people... Ivermectin, which maybe it did or maybe it didn't help or whatever, but they were branding it as if it was a horse, like it was only for deworming horses. It has saved millions of human lives. It's like it's one of the most valuable...
Well, funnily enough, the Economist did a report on this, and it did save human lives. It did save humans who had COVID. But yeah, when they had worms. So
it may not have been helpful.
It saved people's lives, but yeah, it was getting rid of the worms.
That's the thing. It may very well have just been a placebo or whatever, but it's not harmful. They were presenting it as if people were going to the vets and drinking something that was... Do you want to mean? They were like trying to do the thing like they do with ketamine, where they go, it's a horse tranquilizer. It's actually a perfectly nice... No, I'm not going to... Anyway, Guardian now, Josh. And poor old Sue Gray has only got a few months left to finish her gardening leave.
Indeed. Sue Gray cleared to take up Labour job this autumn. This is after the report that basically said, after all this big hoo-ha of conspiracy and whatnot, that essentially that she had left her job, or she wasn't working on this report at all when Keir Starmer approached her.
And she was nothing to do with 50 Shades. That wasn't her.
No,
that was a
nothing to do with
different
that.
entirely.
And so they could, because she's a senior official, not official within the government, but worked for them quite a high role. They could have said you can't start for 18 months, but actually they've said you can start in 6 months, which is going to give her time to embed herself within the Labour Party before the next election in terms of getting them ready if and when they win.
Well, if you're going to be a chief of staff, you've got to have that time. I mean, we shouldn't deny that. I personally don't feel that this is the scandal some people tried to cook it up to be. She didn't really land a punch on Johnson. That was the thing. Her report, when it came, was pretty...
I know, but people went crazy for it.
He's gone as a result of it.
No, not a result of the report. He went because of Pincher. If her report had finished him off, I think then the optics,
I think it set him up.
bad.
It definitely set him up, and I think this is the reason this gets so much attention is that it's emblematic of this march through the institutions where most of the civil service, most of the public sector are Labour. It's one and the same, and you can see it like directly represented here, where a civil servant attacks Johnson and then takes a job with Labour.
She was hired to do a report. She was given the job by Johnson, to investigate it.
Just waltzes straight into a job with Labour.
There's never been any claims that the report that she did was inaccurate or biased.
Oh, but I'm claiming it right now. It's biased.
She wouldn't waltz. That would be
that would be too bourgeois. But yeah, I mean, this is what was the point I was going to make?
You were just saying she's emblematic of a kind of an over-representation of left-leaning people in the civil service.
So when political parties get in, they try and reform the state in their image. Some of the Tories have somehow failed to do in 13 years in power.
I agree with you.
Whereas Labour have already done it before they've even got into power.
Tony Blair managed to create a blob that has not been properly dealt with by the last
and those are valid points, but I think a lot of people tried to kick up a big hornet's nest about this, and it turned out to be nothing. And they're not.
No, it didn't turn out to be. I mean, that's a matter of opinion.
So she's a Labour supporter. Like that's the essential.
Now we have talking of dodgy appointments, and I think this one's a lot worse, Leo. The Telegraph have news. Alf's brother Tobias Garnett is getting a plum job at Labour.
So Labour has hired Extinction Rebellion's former top lawyer, I mean, I don't know if that means they're particularly good, who represented the activists who shut down roads near Parliament. Tobias Garnett, strange clash of clashes there. He led the environmental...
Tobias!
Garnett!
He led the environmental group in a landmark court case that saw the lifting of a ban on its protests in London and charges against thousands of protesters dropped. So, yeah, actually is quite a good...
He did do well,
lawyer.
Against Cross,
but this is... We've seen a lot of this recently. So Labour seem to be... They're talking tough. Keir Starmer talks tough on Just Stop Oil. really, the reality, the money, and what people do shows that he's in the pocket, Labour in the pocket of Just Stop Oil, Extinction Rebellion,
and
no
other
backers.
people as well. Who are the
So Dale Vince, no,
I agree. He's getting money
I understand. People donate money to politicians they donate it for a reason. So Dale Vince, for example, the founder of Ecotricity, he's donated £1.5 million to the Labour Party. And under the previous Labour government, he got £36 million of subsidies.
I will say this about Dale Vince, though. He does sound properly working class, unlike Tobias.
He's not anymore. He's worth £107 million.
But class is about where you come from, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about what you write on Twitter.
Yeah. But the point is that the idea is that what this story is about, and I'm not defending Labour here because I'm genuinely not, is this guy is very high up now within Labour policy about it's what it's going to be doing net zero and whatever. And obviously the question is, to what level would he be regarded as being impartial on this matter? Or be able to look at the actual facts, or coming in with an agenda?
I mean, he may well be just a good lawyer, but I would agree with that. I mean, much more so than Sue Gray. That's an extraordinary degree of partisan commitment he seems to have to extreme anti-oil.
It's going to destroy the UK's energy policy, which is already in a pretty ropey state. And we're already way out ahead of other countries in terms of green energy. So for Keir Starmer to say, we're going to completely destroy North Sea oil and gas and anything else that's a competitor to my backer, Dale Vince's business.
He's going to destroy it, just say he's not going to grant any new licences.
Yeah, that's how you destroy it.
We've got to get through one last story before the break, folks. We have product news now, Josh, and The Guardian want to know if Apple's new Geek goggles are worth the price of a small car.
Oh, indeed. Is Apple's $3,500 Vision Pro, that's going to be the new big thing, Vision Pro, think of iPhones and whatnot, more than just now the tech toy for the rich? They're basically saying, it's just that's what it is.
Toy,
Because the difference is, when the iPhone came out, it utterly changed the paradigm of mobile phones, which before, you had a physical keyboard that you clicked onto. When the home computer came out, it became an easy-to-use, all-encompassed, all-enclosed system. This here is essentially another virtual reality set, a very handsome one, very...
Well, it has the augmented reality option, which I don't know, I haven't got a headset, but my son's got one of the Oculus ones or whatever. It's great for playing games, and he did enjoy it for quite a long time, got good money's worth, but it's just stand in your room, kind of doing this kind of stuff, This one, the way they're selling it, if it was free, I would try it out on the train, I can see that.
I don't want if it's free.
Yeah, me too. I'll try
whereas his one, the Oculus Rift, I was like, you stay in your room and play with that, and don't come down here with your arms waving around, fighting off dinosaurs and
They
knocking
might
over.
surprise us, but this one's see-through, so it sort of mists over when you're using it. It also follows your eyes, so you can sort of have a conversation, and also you don't have to use your hands like this and go like that.
You do this. It's very Minority Report, isn't it? It is kind of
like that. So I'm sure it is going to be successful. They make great products, but is it going to be the must-buy, changing our lives?
At $3,500, they've clearly pitched it at very high end. It's going to be a thing.
Like you.
But there are a large number of people wearing their big headphones now, which when they came out, they were about £600, and they were twice the price of the Sony ones, and they don't sound any better. And people were like, nobody's going to. But now, gradually, people like it. I haven't got the Apple headphones.
Oh, no, but you've got the big headphones.
Oh, yeah, but everyone has big headphones. Well, not everyone has big headphones, but the Apple ones are like big, massive aluminium, platelets over your head.
One thing that is a game changer on virtual reality, because a headset, you just put your phone in, and then it's got lenses and stuff, so, it costs like £10 or whatever. But virtual reality pornography really is a diverting distraction.
Is it?
But it does sort of raise the risk of, your mother walking in and catching you, because you can't see or hear.
What about on the train? Do you watch it on the train?
No, but she's,
Is it safe on the train or not?
Don't do it on the train.
Because the one thing on the train, you see those pictures. Obviously, I would never watch pornography on the train, but you do occasionally see people who think they're doing it secretly. You see the reflection in the window? You must have seen that. That is a whole genre on Twitter. We're at halfway point. We've got some treats before bedtime with Bible bands, Sir and Miss bands, and Beyonce bands. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, no, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment.
I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
Is the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Member of Parliament for North East Somerset and a former government minister. For years, I've walked the corridors of power in both Westminster and the City of London. We need to have the arguments, the discussions on how we make it better.
Crop failures, famine, war, suffering on a scale completely unimaginable.
We are putting the cart before the horse. As Charles I said at the scaffold, he was the true defender of liberty.
Yeah, I've completely derailed the conversation.
Join me Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real, robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
And welcome back to Headliners. We have the Daily Mail now, Leo, and a head teacher that thinks Taylor Swift is a philosopher, has predictable views on traditional honorifics.
Yes, a leading London head teacher has announced a ban on pupils using the titles Sir or Miss to address teachers, branding it cultural misogyny. So, oh God, he's going to be voting
He's put
Labour.
together 2 words there. It's like some spinning drum, isn't it, of words.
Yeah.
Cultural misogyny.
Yeah,
That's
like that
today's
Vice headline generator.
He probably votes for, like, Corbyn's peace and...
Yeah, undoubtedly. Anyway, he's called James Hanscom, and he says, no longer will it be acceptable to call us Sir or Miss. We'd prefer you to call us by our names, but not all teachers are fans of the idea. One teacher said what she's called in the classroom is the least of her worries, writing, FFS, the way behaviour is at the moment, I don't give a damn what I'm called. I just want the swear words to work. I've been Miss for 35 years and I'll be that until I retire. But apparently some other teachers who probably have blue hair don't like the word Miss.
What he said, and I read it, I mean, the guy, he sounds quite lively and like it almost sounds tongue-in-cheek, but not really. But what he said, this I just thought was so hilarious. He said, the thing about Sir is you call people Sir and it makes them sound like they're kind of Francis Drake or Walter Raleigh or David Livingstone, you know, going out and conquering the world, whereas Miss is what you call an Edwardian shop assistant. I'm like, do you honestly think that's what's in kids' heads? We go, Sir, Sir, I am bestowing upon you all the great traditions of masculine conquering achievement.
Culture, policemen, you know, police people call, like, Sir, could you put that down?
Yes,
like,
Sir, stop making a scene.
Doing a poo in the street. Could you stop defecating there, Sir?
That was a famous bit from The Simpsons, isn't it? Homer said, just once I'd like somebody to call me Sir without adding, will you please stop making a scene?
Oh, well, there you go, exactly. So it's sort of some more ridiculous idea. To be fair to him, though, his school is it's for disadvantaged students in London, and 44 of its students have gone to Oxbridge. So they're doing something right.
He's the Michaela of political correctness, is he?
Yeah, maybe. He's the opposite. Maybe he's the sort of the nemesis to each other.
Well, that's what she needs desperately, isn't it, Miss Snaffy?
Yeah.
She needs a nemesis. Maybe we could create a new GB News.
You show
that, yeah. Josh, the Times next in our occasional series of news from Mormon world. This is gratuitous sex and violence in the Bible.
Yeah, I know. Sex-ridden Bible banned from schools in Utah. Now, I thought America, the Bible Belt, that's why it's called the Bible Belt, down there, Salt Lake City and whatnot, suburban districts banning the Bible because they say it's essentially pornographic. It's one of the most sex-ridden books around.
Is this... I think this might be somebody...
That's what it doesn't say it, but I thought it could be a publicity stunt, but like, there's the Satanists.
Yeah.
And the whole thing they're trying to do is show the hypocrisy of that's in the system.
This is somebody who wants the Republicans to stop banning books. So you're going, well, if you're going to ban books with sex and violence in, I guess you better ban the Bible.
Well, I mean, the trouble is, legislating against pornography in books that go into children's school libraries is a difficult thing to do because, the Bible, is obviously a kind of valid book to have in a children's library.
But go on.
But then they've got all these books. The reason they had to bring through these rules is because the books, they genuinely had, illustrated pictures of just the...
Willies and...
Well, actual sexual positions and people using fruit and everything.
Really bizarre sexual positions.
Whereas the Bible, it may have all that stuff in it, but nobody reads it.
Nobody will ever crack it open. It's an apple, but you eat it. You don't do anything else.
I have read several parts of the Old Testament. It is a tough... It's a tough wade through many generations of intertribal content. So, let's have a look at the next story. From gratuitous sex in Utah to full-blown drag in a Peak District school.
Oh, my God. New Mills School in the Peak District in Derbyshire has sparked a warning from a leading MP over its Dragon Rainbows-themed non-uniform day on June the 16th.
It's not dragon.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
Yeah, dragons.
If you could dress up as some sort of medieval reptile. But no, this is they're encouraging children. This is what they say: the children may express themselves by doing something small, like wearing a tutu, makeup, or painting their nails, to going all out in full-blown drag. The letter said, but it sparked backlash from parents. Oh, I can't imagine why they'd object to this. Why can't they just have some cupcakes and a little a tombola or something? Why have they got to have a full-on satanic drag ritual with?
It's obviously you could go either way, and you can certainly see why dressing up in fancy dress you can do gender swap stuff in that, but it kind of feels that's not what they want either, is it? You kind of feel like they are going down the sexualised route. Drag is sexualised, right? Yeah,
they're indoctrinating them, and there's that footage of that. It's in America, right? Where I saw it online. These people arriving for Pride Day at school, and all the teachers are dressed up and they're going through, and all the kids. It's brainwashing. Because it is pushing through this ideology that men and women are essentially exactly the same and whatever.
And a deviant perverts as well.
It's not even brainwashing them with something useful, like how to change a spark plug or something. It's brainwashing, it's hypnotising...
Or strength through joy, something like that.
It's just hypnotising kids to become genderqueer communists. And I don't see the advantage for the nation.
Certainly not in the Peak District,
but also
which has very few salt mines that to be exploited.
And this headmaster here, the senior leader at the science department, is saying drag is an art form that is fundamental to the LGBT. Look, I've hosted drag nights. It's not fundamental to anything. It's someone singing along or pretending to sing along to songs dressed as a woman. That's what it is.
But it's a highly... some people... My wife has now taken to calling it woman face. There are people who feel it's a very patronising version of femininity, which if you were to, for instance, put on a minstrel show and say we're celebrating the joy of black culture in the 19th century Southern America...
But as long as you dress as a black woman, you're going to be all right.
It does seem to be going that way. Over to the Daily Mail now, Josh. Something I watched happen in horror in real time. This Oxfam's anti-turf pride cartoon.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Oxfam faces boycott calls over turf pride cartoon depicting J.K. Rowling, and the charity apologised. So essentially, they put out as Pride. A lot of companies are putting out these announcements, or in this case, a little animated video that they've made.
I think we have an image of
we have an image of it. There's a still from it, and someone else.
It says preyed on by hate groups online and offline, and that is J.K. Rowling there with a badge saying turf.
And that's a picture that someone's taken an image from her at a premiere, and they've replaced what she was wearing, a poppy at the time.
And one of the other pictures is apparently Andy No, who's a
friend of the show.
Vietnamese American guy, and that's, you know, a deeply racist depiction of him.
Absolutely. So they've just put this out there, and of course, because they think they're virtuous and that they're on the right side of history, they can say whatever they want about anybody.
Yeah.
But of course, that's slander. People pointed out straight away, calling J.K. Rowling hateful and whatever. People are saying that they hope that she sues them. Of course, Oxfam has been off for a while now. It turns out that some of their money being put towards sex parties, hiring prostitutes in Haiti and Congo.
Still difficult for J.K. Rowling to sue a charity like that, I suppose, isn't it? And the best we can hope for is probably that, you know, the people involved get kicked out. But I was kind of more worried about the apology, because you can imagine something like that being waved through, somebody didn't look at it properly, some activists and third or fourth...
They do look at it.
But the apology, they clearly looked at it, and all they've said in the apology is, you know, we sorry for using the word turf. It's the grotesque caricatures that are the problem. I mean, that is like Nazi tier. Seriously, that's like the kind of... you know, the caricatures of the eternal Jew and stuff that were done to make you feel a kind of visceral hatred for those people.
And the amount of hatred that she has received and death threats and rape threats over the years. This is a woman who has donated so much money out. She's donated herself out of being a billionaire. She is a good human being, and she's standing up for women's rights. And this is what she gets. And people see this stuff, and it's coming from Oxfam, a charity that helps the world, that helps some of the poorest people in the world. And they're calling her hateful.
Does it, though?
Well, exactly. I mean, you would think if they had anything they'd want to take on, it might be Uganda, for instance, where there are people who struggle to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? And there are actual, genuine, you know, issues with LGBTQ attitudes. And I mean, I think a lot of charities like Oxfam, Amnesty, some other ones, they've drifted away from actually materially helping people to sort of policing opinions in the West.
Conquest's first or second law, can never remember. Look it up in the break. Egyptology news now in the Times, Leo. And finally, Beyonce and Rihanna are in the frame for cultural appropriation.
So Egypt bans archaeologists for showing Beyonce as ancient Queen Nefertiti. So the Egyptian officials have banned Dutch archaeologists from the country in a bitter dispute over a museum exhibition that portrays black American singers, performers and musicians as the rulers of ancient Egypt. It's in the Dutch National Museum of Antiquities. It's an exhibition entitled Kemet, which means the Black Land, which I don't know if you've been to Egypt, but it's not sub-Saharan Africa.
Do you know where that comes from? Because I read it. It's the colour of the silt. The Nile floodplain basically turns the soil black, and that's why it's so enriched with nutrents. That's why it's called the Black Land. It's nothing to do with the skin
ruin
colour.
my biased interpretation.
Sorry.
It's also a very good board game, Kemet. Anybody?
But we've seen this a lot, the erasure of an African minority, which is what, you know, Egyptian people are, the Bedouin and all the rest of it, and they're being replaced in, I mean, most recently there's that Netflix drama about Cleopatra, where, you know, you'd think she's from Nigeria or something instead of Egypt. In reality, Cleopatra was Macedonian.
It does seem, well, that's right, it does seem that there's not just like race swapping and stuff, but there are certain particular favoured minorities whom Hollywood and the music industry and so on want to kind of elevate in these places. And I do understand the Egyptian, because Egypt is unique. It was this extraordinary civilization long before ancient Greece, let alone ancient Rome. You know, so there is a real kind of prize to be won here, I suppose, isn't there, by a people...
Well, it's arguably for the Egyptians, they consider it cultural appropriation. They're upset and offended, and possibly rightly so. And of course, there are parts of Black America who want to appropriate that culture because, as you say, it's an ancient civilization that they can then...
I'll tell you who does look exactly like Nefertiti, though, is Dylan Mulvaney, funnily enough, with his strange long neck.
Don't give them ideas, Simon.
Have you been watching him on the train?
Final breather now. Make sure you come back. Proof of aliens, some of milk. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've probably seen politicians interviewed 1,000 times, but we do it differently. We find out who they really are, we don't shout, we chat, and hopefully we bring a bit of light, not just heat. Did you know Kate Moss?
Apparently.
Do you have a pair of jeans or a pair of jeans?
No, of course I don't. What would I do with them?
My friends are like, oh my God, what's she doing now?
Join me every Sunday at 6 for Gloria Meets, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Start the day with GB News.
We catch up on all the big stories you didn't hear the night before.
And take a look at what the world's talking about this morning. That's right, Monday to Thursdays from 6 o'clock. It's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Straight after breakfast, join us, Bev Turner and Andrew Pearce. We're going to take you through till noon.
We'll be tackling the big topics of the day, including the things that the other channels just won't talk about. If it's happening here. Wake up to mornings on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
So, welcome back to Headliners. We kick off our final section with The Guardian and some more illegal migrants for us to deal with, Josh.
Yes, US urged to reveal UFO evidence after claim that it has intact alien vehicles. So here's another conspiracy theory that turned out to be true, allegedly, so far. Jonathan Gray, a current US intelligence official for the National Air and Space Intelligence, says we are not alone. There's supposedly military footage of inexplicable happenings in the sky.
Right.
And
he's credible, is he, Grush?
This is what people say. He's utterly beyond reproach. And it's kind of insane. Like, I mean, look, until you see it with your own eyes, or until it's reported on GB News, I just don't know. Until Neil Oliver gives me the okay, then I'll follow you.
Like, I guess when I was growing up and this kind of stuff was in the general stew of the kind of 40 times and all of that, but so much time has gone on now. Since, I mean, it was, the 1950s, so it felt fairly fresh to me when I was growing up, but, 70 years now. Do you not think it would have come out by now? Something?
Well, I don't. I mean, if there's an argument that that's part of the plan, is to sort of release this stuff within the media, make it seem so that when it does come out, we're like, yeah, we knew already.
Okay,
really.
but like the Chinese lab leak.
But but they have these. What they're saying is they have the vehicles and they're trying to sort of reverse the technology. Yeah. And it's not just America; it's like a worldwide arms race to kind of deconstruct this stuff.
But there's always sort of seemingly credible people coming out and saying, all kinds of stuff about, the Twin Towers being demolition and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, as much as he says it's incontrovertible evidence and he seems credible, I want to see it. Why can't you just show us? Just show us.
And what exactly is an exotic material? I mean, all the elements have been discovered. It's not as if they can't make alloys. It's not going to have...
Maybe they got new ones.
It's really shiny. Really shiny. Staying with sport, that seems to be an artefact from a previous version of the show. Leo, the Barmy Army had to become a bit less barmy and a bit less army.
Yeah, so the Barmy Army, who are apparently the England cricket fans, is that right?
Yes,
the Barmy Army. No, I didn't know England.
They're rowdy, they drink, they
They're like
kind
the
of...
barmiest people you've ever met.
Really?
They're crazy barmy.
Cricket fans.
Barmy.
Well, they're gonna stop being barmy. They're gonna help zero tolerance crack down on bad behaviour in the Ashes after a spate of fights and racism. So this follows an increase in offensive and disorderly conduct by fans at international matches since the pandemic, which made them all racist, apparently. So the nadir was reached last summer when a group of spectators were subject to racial abuse, England's test against India. There was also a brawl in the stands at Headingley during a match against New Zealand. I can't believe something worth watching happened at a cricket match.
They're too balmy.
It does seem a little bit of a small story. I mean, the other thing to mention is that the Australian players certainly sledge pretty hard. You know, it's in the culture of the game. You know sledging? This is when you just, like, abuse the batsman, you know, the third slip is just
cry.
Your mother jokes, you know. Anyway, not my business. Josh, over to The Guardian. This one passes the sniff test for me.
Oh, indeed. M&S removes use-by dates from milk to reduce waste. Supposedly £270 million of waste of milk a year is poured down the sink. And what they're saying is if we do instead instead of use by, it's best before.
Yeah.
That's going to change the
Have
culture.
a sniff. We all know what off milk tastes like.
But the problem is that I'd rather put it down the sink than sniff. You know, there's nothing worse than am I going to sniff?
Nothing worse than sniffing off milk?
Yeah, it's horrible.
I can name you 3 things worse than that. I'm also going to claim credit for this. My wife does a bit of PR for Morrison's supermarket, and they did this in January. So their M&S is following in Morrison's.
Yeah.
Morrison's is very sound. It's the working class Waitrose.
Well, if my granddad worked in milk PR.
He works in milk?
Yeah, he brought the milk priest to... Like, that was his sort of invention, milk marketing. He worked for milk
What
marketing
do you think
board.
of this sacrilege of use-by dates?
The milk race is certainly past its best. Consumer news now in the Times, Leo, and shoppers.
Shoppers snub packets of food that offer less food for the same price. This is shoppers pushing back against shrinkflation. So they're boycotting goods such as chocolate bars and packets of crisps that are now smaller but cost the same or more. So the price for companies of making and transporting food has gone up, and sometimes they pass this on to the consumer, and sometimes they just sort of make stuff smaller. And it's not just you might be thinking, oh, they're trying to keep us healthy by making smaller chocolate bars. No, apparently Fairy Liquid has got smaller, and nobody's eating Fairy Liquid, or if they are, they're crazy.
Josh is usually what you think after his milk. I've been noticing this for years. With Mars bars are the famous ones, aren't they? Curly Whirlies and all that. And you think, OK, is it because I was 7? But no, they've definitely been. They used to be like the size of your forearm.
As well, everyone kicked off. I mean, soon Lurpak's going to be like one of those. It's going to be like
and cream eggs are like cream eggs are like quail eggs. They used to be.
They are, and also they're always like buggered up, aren't they? You know what I mean? There's always a box of them after them and leaking. They look like they're war wounded.
Yeah, and you can't eat them when they're like that.
Horrible things, sticky, nasty.
Salmonella.
Finally, new guidelines. We've got 30 seconds. How much authenticity is required for an actor to be able to act?
Well, this is one of the age-old questions, or at least it's been going on for the last 3 years or so. Michael Sheen says he finds it hard to accept non-Welsh actors playing Welsh roles. This is obviously a ridiculous thing because he's played pretty much every nationality. And
he played Tony Blair.
But he plays lots of Jewish people. But now when he watches a Welsh person, he's like, oh, he can't accept. Look, I could be well. I don't mean I'm from Wales.
We can all be Welsh.
From Cardiff, mate. Yeah. What do you think of that, Michael Sheen?
He's not.
Well, the show is nearly over, sadly. It would have been fun to leave a couple of minutes to get stuck into Sheen, but we haven't got them. Let's take a quick look at Tuesday's front pages. The Daily Mail. He must have longed for the schmaltzy embrace of Oprah, say the Daily Mail about Prince Harry. The Guardian. Environmental disaster. Floods hit Ukraine as damage destroyed. Financial Times as Russia set off environmental bomb by breaching dams, Zelensky claims. The Daily Express. Game-changing new drug to slim down nation. iNews. 40,000 fleeing war crime after dam blown up. And The Star, Inspector Clueless. Those were your front pages. That's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Josh Howie and Leo Kirst. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. Nick Dixon, Josh and Victor Daniels. New to me. If you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned. Otherwise, good night.
First and foremost, I am a GB News fan, and I was before I was working here. Just love the fact that we're asking the questions that a lot of establishment media won't ask.
With a bit of a twist, we not only want to inform you, but we want to keep you entertained.
It's worth the drive because you get in and the team's all ready and waiting, they're itching to go, and it's a proper little family.
GB News is the People's Channel.
It's the audience that makes the programme sing.
We're giving our viewers and our listeners a voice. I see the thousands of your letters, tweets, emails, you name it, coming in.
Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it?
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent you.
It's time for something different. It's time for GB News. I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me.
So anyway, Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. Well, Prince Harry in the High Court, of course, is the dominant story of the day. It began with a 55-page transcript in which he said the press have got blood on their hands, and he described the UK government as being at rock bottom. But I don't think he was very impressive, and I think he really is struggling to prove that Mirror Group newspapers hacked him. Is Harry onto a loser? We will debate that in just a few minutes' time after the news with Polly Middlehurst.
Nigel, thank you. The news at 7 o'clock. The top story, as you've been hearing, is that Prince Harry has accused the former Mirror editor, Piers Morgan, of intimidation. And he added that as a consequence of bringing his claim to court in London, he and his wife Meghan have both been subjected to a barrage of horrific personal attacks. The Duke of Sussex was giving evidence at the High Court today in London against the publisher of the Daily Mirror over alleged unlawful information gathering. Harry also said in court, "Our country is judged globally by the state of our press and our government." And he accused the press of having blood on its typing hands during his cross-examination. Mirror Group Newspapers denies the allegations. Meanwhile, the United States government is going to be challenged in court over its decision to allow the Duke of Sussex a US visa in 2020. That's after Prince Harry's admissions of illegal drug use in his memoir, Spare. It's not known if he admitted his drug use for his visa application. US official policies dictate that visa applicants who are found to be drug users are ineligible for US visas. Downing Street says the government is willing to agree another way forward, rather than lodging a legal challenge against the COVID inquiry. The Cabinet Office has been asked to present the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson's notebooks to the inquiry by next week, so they may be compared to the redacted copies already provided. Baroness Heather Hallett says she won't be commenting on the legal row. The Foreign Secretary has said today damage to a major dam in Ukraine is a catastrophe and an abhorrent act. Thousands of people have had to be evacuated from their homes after the huge 2-mile-long dam in southern Ukraine was severely damaged. Ukraine is accusing Russia of blowing it up, but a member for Putin's United Russia Party is accusing Ukraine of carrying out the attack. Hundreds of homes, streets and businesses have all been badly flooded. Here, the police watchdog has announced it's launched a criminal investigation into the fatal collision involving a police motorcycle escorting the Duchess of Edinburgh. The officer from the Special Escort of causing death by dangerous driving, as well as causing death by careless driving. 81-year-old Helen Holland died after being struck by a police escort bike in West London that was escorting the Duchess of Edinburgh last month. And a Veterans Memorial Service has taken place today to mark the 79th anniversary of the D-Day landings. The Defence Secretary Ben Wallace is in France for the service alongside the French President Macron on the anniversary of the 1944 Normandy landings. Also in attendance was Léon Gauthier. He's the last surviving member of the French commandos who stormed the Normandy beaches defended by Hitler's troops. You're up to date on TV, online, DAB+ radio and the TuneIn app. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, what a day. Yes, Prince Harry in the High Court today. It all began with a 55-page document in which he outlined much of his anger. And I don't blame him for being angry in some ways. After all, his mother was killed in pretty horrendous circumstances. Harry has had to lead life in the public eye. And, of course, in common with all people in the public eye, you have to deal with the British press, and they can be pretty annoying at times. But, of course, it was illegality. It was phone hacking that got the Murdoch press into so much trouble and meant they had to pay out compensation. And it's always seemed to me to be quite difficult to believe that it was just the Murdoch press that were using phone hacking. But Harry, in his 55 pages, accuses the press of having blood on their hands. He's referring in particular to the horrible suicide that we saw with Caroline Flack. He says that the press and the government have sunk to rock bottom. Harry, not sure it was terribly wise to sink into political territory there. And, of course, he had a go at Piers Morgan, who he accuses of intimidation. Well, he set out his case in those 55 pages. But then came the difficult bit. Yes, you've got to be there in the dock, Harry. Not just today, you'll be there all day tomorrow, being cross-examined by a clever barrister. Now, there were 33 stories published by the Mirror Group during the years 1996 to 2010 that were under examination. To put it mildly, I don't think Harry had mastery of his brief. Consider this exchange. Lawyer to Harry. The Daily Mail article the same day, referring to you as being kept inside watching TV and videos inside a ranch house. It quotes Mr. Dyer, who was with you. It appears that's where the info came from. This is the info for the story. Harry says, no, it doesn't appear that way. Lawyer. He was clearly quoted as talking to the press. Harry. I don't expect that Mr. Dyer was speaking to the press. Lawyer. An article in the Australian newspaper that day quoted Mark Dyer speaking to reporters. Harry. I have no idea. Lawyer. The info you alleged was from voicemail hacking, when in fact it was Mr. Dyer. Harry, I see the similarities. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And of course, during the interrogation, there was mention of his cannabis use. Mention, of course, of the Nazi uniform that he wore to a fancy dress party. And tomorrow, I suspect it will get even more vicious. I can't give you a legal opinion as to what's going to happen in this case, but I can tell you, I think Harry has made a massive error, and I believe Harry is onto a loser. Tell me what you think, please. Your comments, farage@gbnews.com. I'm joined by Michael Cole, former BBC royal correspondent, and I'm pleased to say a regular on this programme. It's been a very long time since a member of the royal family appeared at a court.
Well, back 130 years ago, to the great dismay of Queen Victoria, her eldest son, the Prince of Wales, had to appear in a court case involving cheating at cards, baccarat. And he'd also, previous to that, been in a case involving adultery, the Mordaunt case. Now, in his day, that prince was known as Dirty Bertie, and later Edward the Caresser. So he had a little bit of form, but it was very, very unwise of Prince Harry to follow his example of his great-great-great-grandfather to go into the witness box here because, you know, this was D-Day for the Prince of Litigation. He's got 5 cases going in this country alone. Went the day well? I would say it did not go well. The hurt he feels is raw. The belief he has in what he's saying is profound. The anger he has is incandescent, but, belief is not proof. It is not evidence, and this case will turn on evidence. And what he's got to do, and it's an uphill struggle, and I'm quite surprised how ill-prepared it seems to me, or ill-informed, he's got to...
He didn't seem to be on top of the brief.
Well, I think you put it well there, and kindly, too. I don't think he's been well prepared because he's going to have to try, and we're only at half-time, let's be fair.
Yeah.
It could turn round tomorrow. But he's got to try and prove in these 33 different cases that the Mirror Group newspapers used illicit, illegal means, phone hacking and other horrible means to get these stories. Now, so far, and I've read through the whole of the transcript of the testimony, I don't think he's put a glove on them. And to go into a Colosseum like this, unarmed, as it seems to me, is foolishness. Now, I've written about this in the past. I advised very strongly against it. Don't go there. I'm sure if his grandmother, the Queen, was still alive, she would have said that's the last thing you're possibly going to do. Because in a court case like that, you don't know where the cross-examination is going to go. You've mentioned 2 of the areas that it's already gone into. There'll be others. Yeah. It will be very, very, very damaging to him. And if you haven't got the means to demonstrate that illicit means were used to invade your privacy and that of your friends, well, I'm afraid you're going to look not very convincing.
I think
and the thing is, it's not, you know, if it was a jury trial, Nigel, then he would get a lot of sympathy from the jury. But it's not. It's going to be